Hello there. Welcome to part 2, our lesson in making your own personalised earring with a 3D Harrington font letter A. In this lesson we're going to show you how you can make some modifications, some changes, some enhancements to the earring to personalise it even more for yourself. So if we're assuming that you've worked through lesson 1 and you've created a Harrington earring with the letter A, similar to the one shown here, and we've still got the cross-section size of 1mm, so that's 1mm thickness here and 2mm depth. And well, let's see, what can we do first of all? I'm just holding down the center mouse button and just rocking the screen just to view it from different angles like this. So what can we do? Well, if we press the tab key with the Harrington font highlighted, what you'll notice first of all is that we go into edit mode, and you'll see that there are various points. These are called control points around the object. And one thing that I could do is if I click on the green arrow there with one control point highlighted, I could stretch out my letter A. And if I press the tab key now, you can see that we've got a different appearance to the original earring. So we've stretched out that letter A, so that's one thing that we could do. And if I wanted to cancel that, I can always hold down the control key and press the letter Z. That does undo the last action. You could always go up to edit and do undo up here as well. I tend to use the keyboard. Okay, so that's one form of editing. So again, if I go into the press the tab key again to go into edit mode, and if I select that point there, if I actually press the letter O on the keyboard, I should switch into proportional editing mode. So if I move it this time, I haven't. I've actually switched proportional editing mode off. Let me press the letter O on the keyboard again, and if I click on the green arrow, and as I start to drag, you'll see that there is a circle in the center of the screen there. That's what we're looking for. O for circle. And if I scroll the center mouse button this time, you'll see that the circle changes, and as I move the object, depending upon the size of the circle, this proportional editing circle, different parts of the original object will move. Basically, the parts that are inside the circle will move, the parts that are outside the circle won't move. So this is called proportional editing. So whereas in the first instance I just dragged and moved the bottom part of the A, here, because of the proportional editing, I'm also moving this inner circle of the letter A. So we can create that kind of effect. So again, I could undo what I did by going to edit and undo, or I could press Control Z. So that's proportional editing. I could of course add another letter below here, and you do need to realize that in Fluid Designer we don't do that by dragging a letter from here onto the workspace. If we did that, the letter A would disappear. If we wanted to add another letter to our earring here, so let's say that we want to add the letter C, the way to do it is to go to File and use Append. And I just need to go up through the menu system here. Here we're in the Groups folder now, and here's all our folders that are available in Fluid Designer, and we're using Harrington font. So if I select Harrington font here, and I'm going to use the Harrington font letter C, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the object, Harrington font C object. I'm going to append it from the library to the current workspace. Now you do need to make sure that the Harrington font is highlighted, and you can tell that when it's in the yellow outline. And if I just move this down now, you can see that I can position the letter C at the bottom of the letter A. So that could be my new earring now, with the letter A and the letter C. and what I want to do is to join these two together. So with the C highlighted, if I hold down the Shift key and click on letter A, I could go to Tools, Object Tools, and join those two objects together. And when I do that, the Harrington font C disappears from the outliner window here, and I've just got Harrington font A. Essentially the whole thing has just been joined together. So if I just undo that, sometimes you have to do this twice, 3 times in this case. Oops, hang on. Let me do Control. Sorry, I did Control and Z with the keyboard there to undo it. You'll see here's Harrington font C. It's now not joined to Harrington font A, and I can move it out of the way. Right, so if we want to join the two together, make sure that they are overlapping. Hold down the Shift key, select letter A, and go to Tools, Object, and join them. So now you've got one object, and that could be printed. I'm going to do Control Z again to undo that. Yep. So C is separate. Oops, not quite. Yep. C is separate now. So if I just move that. Yep. So that's one thing that I could do. I could join the letter C to A. Now with this C highlighted, if I just go over here to show the main information in the Properties panel, if we look at this one here, rotation, what I could do is I've got the y-axis there, that's the green arrow. So if I click on here to the right, you see I can actually rotate that letter C. And if I drag, if I'm holding the center mouse button now and dragging it, you can see I can rotate it quickly. I'm going to set it at 30 degrees. Okay, so now we could print these two objects together, but we do need to be careful here, because if I hold down the Shift key now and select A and go to Tools, Object Tools, and Join, something strange will happen here. You'll see that the C has got twisted, because it's taken on the properties of the A, and the A is flat, it's not being rotated. So if we wanted to join these two objects together, we wouldn't do it quite like that. So if I do Control Z and undo it again, so there's my letter C now, and it isn't twisted anymore. Before I join them together this time, what I really need to do is to go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert the C into a mesh. It was a curve. You'll notice Harrington font in the outliner window here. There's a curved shape there, rather than this inverted, rather than the triangle. The triangle represents a mesh. This little curve here represents the fact that A is a curve. If I do Tools, Objects, Tools, and convert that to a mesh, you'll see that we also get a triangle next to Harrington font A. So both these objects are now not curves but meshes. And if I highlight the letter C, hold down the Shift key, highlight letter A, and join them together this time, we don't get that strange twisting effect that we got with the curve. So if you wanted to rotate an object before you join them, change them to meshes before you join them. The disadvantage with this is that we are now limited on what we can do in terms of changing this object, because if I press the Tab key to go to edit mode, you'll see that we haven't got any control points anymore like we do with curves, because we are now in mesh mode. But I'm going to undo all of that, so I'm going to hold Control down and press Z, and I'm going to keep going. We're back to a curve now. You can see it's changed from white to grey, and the letter C is also a curve now. So the two objects are not joined, and I can move the C out of the way. Now I'm going to delete the letter C, and we can delete in Fluid Designer by pressing X on the keyboard and deleting that object. So we're back to letter A again. Let's see what else that we could do. So we've got this as a curve now. You'll notice there's a curve shaped over here. If I press the Tab key, now previously I showed you how you could stretch this down. first of all without the proportional editing, and then if we scroll the center mouse button with the proportional editing. So that's one feature that we did previously. Oops. And I'll just undo that. What we're going to do this time is instead of stretching it, I'm going to thicken it up. So if I press the tab key, if I select that control point there, what I can do is I can change the radius of that control point, and I'm going to hold down the left mouse button and drag it, and you'll see that the particular point that's highlighted, that control point, I'm changing the thickness of it in both directions, in this direction, and I'm changing the thickness in this direction, the Y direction. So by selecting that control point, I can change the radius. It was originally, the default size is 1, so I can always go back to 1. I could type it in. That's the original size, which gives us 1 millimeter by 2 millimeters. If I change this radius value, I can change the thickness of that control point, and again change the appearance of my letter A. Now I don't need to just do one point at a time. I could select more than one point. So here I'm selecting several points, and if I change the radius this time, you'll notice that the effect is quite different, because I've got a lot of control points their radius being changed and being thickened at the same time. So you've got to kind of decide on what's the final appearance that you want. Well, I'm going to go for just selecting one control point there, and I'm going to thicken it up to, let's say, 3. I'm going to type 3, and that gives me that new appearance to my earring. So once I'm happy with that, I can press the tab key to come out of edit mode, and so there's my letter A Harrington font earring, and essentially I've customized it by making the bottom of it thicker than the top part of it. So if I wanted to 3D print this now always in Fluid Designer, rather than go to File and Save, we always recommend you go to File and Export, and you export it as a wavefront object, and I like to export it to the desktop, and I'm going to call it Harrington Font A Earring, and export it. So export the OBJ file, and that's the file. We would need to do some slight changes to that file. We do need to repair it with NetFab, but essentially that's your 3D printable earring. So yeah, that's some of the things that you could do to modify the earring and customize it even further. Right, thank you.